MrBeast recently uploaded a video that was so disturbing, it was deleted minutes after uploading. The video was called The Scariest Forest Ever, and it involved a challenge where if a contestant survived in a forest for just 10 minutes, they would win $1 million. This video has been completely deleted until now. Okay, so none of that actually happened, but what if it did, and the video had been completely deleted until now? But instead of it being a video, it's a poorly made game. So MrBeast posts a lot of challenge videos on his channel. Typically, these challenge videos involve contestants competing for money and other prizes. Like this video, where the last person out of 100 people to leave this circle wins $500,000. Or this video, where if you can carry $1 million, you can keep it. And I always thought these videos would make for a great horror game. A horror game where you've been invited to participate in a MrBeast YouTube video and you have to complete a challenge to win money. The challenge, however, is to survive in a forest for 10 minutes, while a possessed MrBeast is trying to take you out. To get started with making this game, I opened Unreal Engine and created a new project. I typically use GameMaker for my games, as I usually create 2D games, but I thought this game would be better suited as a 3D game. So that's why we're using Unreal Engine. The cool thing with Unreal Engine is that you can get these starter templates which pretty much program all the complicated features for you, like the player movement system and the camera and the 3D level and everything else to do with a 3D game. I actually realized that by making a 3D game, I would have to do 3D modeling, and yeah, I'm terrible at 3D modeling. So I headed over to Fiverr and paid somebody to model me a MrBeast character for this game. But it wasn't just a normal MrBeast character, it was a possessed MrBeast created for a horror game. We'll come back to that 3D model later, but for now, we continued working on our game. The next thing our game needed was a forest environment. Instead of downloading a template for an environment, I actually decided to make the environment from scratch. And we eventually got this, which was pretty cool. The only issue was, this did not look like a horror game. So let's set it to nighttime, add a flashlight, and there we go. We had a horror game. The next thing our game needed was an enemy. The main enemy for the game was going to be MrBeast. The idea that we had for our MrBeast enemy was that he would walk around the forest looking for you, and as soon as you were in his range, he would basically start chasing you. I created this enemy AI movement system, which would pretty much walk around the map, and at random intervals, it would stop walking, wait for a second, and turn and walk in a different direction. In this state, it would basically be walking around looking for the player, so I needed to add in some programming that would follow the player once the enemy had seen the player. After adding that, our enemy AI was starting to come along nicely. All we needed to do now was add our MrBeast model to our enemy. But before we do that, and I reveal what we received from Fiverr, I wanted to talk about the sponsor for this video, GameMaker. GameMaker is an all-in-one game development engine, which has everything you need to make games. Like I mentioned earlier in this video, it is the game engine I use to make 2D games, like this game, and even this game. Now, you're probably wondering why I'm talking about GameMaker in a video where I'm using Unreal Engine, and the truth is, you can use both together. Let me explain. Firstly, making 3D games is a huge task, and takes a lot more effort than making most 2D games. And one of the good things you can do with using GameMaker is make a 2D version of your 3D game first, to test the gameplay loop. Truth is, it would suck to make a 3D game, and then when it comes to playtesting, the gameplay loop is not any fun. However, by using GameMaker as an assistant tool to your 3D projects, you can quickly test gameplay ideas easily. I personally think it's great to use multiple game engines, and that's what I do. Unreal Engine for 3D games, like this MrBeast horror game, and GameMaker for all my other 2D games. Each game engine has its strengths, and one of GameMaker's is that it is incredibly beginner friendly and very easy to start using. In fact, you can get GameMaker for free with my link in the description, and if you've ever wanted to try making games, I'd highly recommend trying GameMaker today. Anyway, here's what we received from Fiverr. As you can see, we now have a 3D model for a horror game version of MrBeast. I added this model to our game, along with some animations, and our MrBeast horror game was really starting to come along. Well, kinda. All we really had at the moment was a forest environment and an enemy that would chase us through that forest, but we didn't really have anything for the player to do, so it's time to explain the concept of the game. Basically, the idea for the game is that after subscribing to MrBeast, you received a mysterious email inviting you to participate in a challenge video. The challenge was simple: survive 10 minutes in this forest, you win $1 million. However, what isn't mentioned is that this MrBeast is trying to take you out. While you're trying to survive for 10 minutes, you can also collect briefcases, some of which have bonus money in them and some of which have nothing. So let's add those briefcases to our game. I found a 3D briefcase model online and added it to our game. I made it so that if you're in range of that briefcase, a text appears that says press E to interact, and if you press E, the briefcase will be destroyed and a piece of text will appear. The text would either say that the briefcase had $10,000 or that it had nothing. Look, I know it wasn't the craziest game feature of all time, but at least it gave something for the player to do, and it allowed for us to add a missing feature: the jump scare. One of the most common features of horror games are jump scares, and our game didn't have one yet. So I decided to use the briefcase as a way to add a jump scare. Basically, if you open this one certain briefcase, MrBeast will just appear and then disappear after a few seconds. Look, I know it wasn't the craziest jump scare of all time, but it was something. Also, I adjusted the flashlight, added a 10-minute timer, and made it so MrBeast spawns after 5 minutes of being in the map, which gives the player some time to explore the forest and collect briefcases. And with that, our MrBeast horror game was complete. So yeah, the only thing left to do now is check it out. Alright guys, and here we are with the final version of Beast Forest. As you can see, we got 10 minutes, so let's try to win the game. First of all, I'd just like to say, wow, this is a really good 3D game. Usually my 3D horror games aren't all that great. I've had my AI generated 3D horror game, my Minecraft 3D horror game, but this is actually pretty good. Just walking around the environment here, as you can see, yeah, I like it, it's cool. But anyway, enough talking about the game, let's try to find some of those briefcases so we can actually win. I mean, collecting the briefcases don't really do anything other than showing some text on the screen, but outside of that, at least it gives you something to do before MrBeast shows up. So let's look around here, see if we can find any briefcases. Oh, there we go, we found one. So let's go up to it and press E to interact. Let's go. Okay, cool. So the first briefcase I open is the jump scare. So there you go. All right, let's check this one out here. I wonder what this one will have. So let's go up to it, E to interact. All right, cool, good. So you know what would have been a good addition to the game? If I decided to add like an actual point system where the more money you collect, the higher score you get. The reason I didn't add that though is because I'm not sure how. Anyway, open that one. This briefcase was empty. Cool. So yeah, really, there's not a lot to do in this game while you're waiting for MrBeast to show up other than collect briefcases. But at least it's something. Another empty briefcase, cool. All right, so MrBeast has just spawned in the map. I'm not too sure where he is, but I'm just gonna have a look around. I know he's somewhere. Yeah, I can see him, but as long as I'm hiding behind a tree, he shouldn't be able to, his AI shouldn't be able to find me. Okay, this is not good. If I turn around, I'm gonna see him. There he is. All right, let's keep going this way. Let's go through here. And there we go, that's our MrBeast horror game. Thanks again to GameMaker for sponsoring this video. Be sure to check them out with the link in the description if you're interested in making your own games. Please also be sure to leave a like if you enjoyed this video, feel free to leave a comment, and subscribe if you're new to the channel. Peace.